Hey guys, on the forefront of this video, I'm going to apologize for the little bit of haze that you see. It's because of the glare from the windows, and I didn't realize it when I was filming, and I already did everything that I was going to do today, so I didn't want to throw the whole thing out. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I still think it's a great video. It's just not extremely clear, so apologize for that, but go watch the video. Enjoy it. I hope you guys have a great day. Hi guys. Okay, today in the kitchen, we are going to do a couple things. The first thing is I need to use up some of my sourdough discard so that I can feed it and get it ready to bake some bread. And I was looking for some sourdough discard recipes, and I always go to Farmhouse on Boone. That is my favorite place to get sourdough recipes. She has the most diverse amount of things that you can choose from. And as I was scrolling through her recipe log, I found sourdough chocolate chip cookies. So the kids will love that. It'll be a great cool day snack, and I'm going to make that. So I will link the recipe for that in the comments down below. So I have that, and we're gonna do that first. The next thing I'm going to do today in the kitchen is my uncle gave me 2 gallons of apple cider that he made this fall, and then he froze it. And we were talking the other day, and he said, I was talking about making hard cider, and he likes hard cider, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show you guys how easy it is to make hard cider using either apple cider or apple juice, and then, yeah, you'll be able to make it for yourself with just a few ingredients and a few small pieces of equipment. You'll be able to make your own hard cider. And that recipe I get from City Steading Brews, also here on YouTube. That's where I've learned basically how to make all of the home brews that I've learned how to do. Sometimes I'll make my own recipe and I'll show you guys, but a lot of times it's just things that I've seen from them and they give me inspiration, and then I kind of tweak it and make my own. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I wrote her recipe down. I have a handwritten, it's a cookbook that I got. It was blank, and I got it from Michael's craft store quite a while ago. And so when I find a recipe that I like or that I think I'll like, I just write it down in here. So I did that. That way I didn't have to be back and forth between the iPad, the phone, and whatnot. I just have this recipe right here written, and if we really love it, I'll just, say star next to it, and then I'll have it forever and ever. All right, so the first thing that we need to do is have a cup of butter. This is salted butter. Her recipe calls for unsalted butter. If all you have is salted butter, that's okay. That just means you're gonna wanna cut in half the amount of salt or eliminate the amount of salt that's in the recipe. So her recipe has 1.5 teaspoons of salt down at the bottom. So I'm probably just gonna do about a half a teaspoon and call it a day. So the first thing you wanna do is take your butter and you're gonna put it in there and you're gonna cream it with your sugar. And it calls for a cup of white granulated sugar and a cup of light brown sugar, which I have handy here. Get these into the old KitchenAid. Fun fact, I almost killed my KitchenAid this winter. I just got this thing not all that long ago because I killed my previous KitchenAid, which was the smaller one. It wasn't the bigger Pro one. So I killed that one, and we got this one to replace it, and it's done good. But if you're doing a lot of bread, you got to be careful with your KitchenAids. And so right before Thanksgiving, I was doing a lot of bread orders. I was working out of a rented kitchen, and I was doing a lot of bread, and this thing quit. It stalled. Where's my scissors? And I thought it died. It was like smoking hot and everything. So luckily I hand kneaded the last batch, and Harley did some research and she says, I think it's just overheated. You might be okay. And we came home and we tried it and it still didn't work. And then a little bit later we tried it again, and voila, it worked. So luckily I didn't kill the old KitchenAid here. I say the old KitchenAid, but it's really only, what, 1.5 years, maybe 2 years old. It's not very old at all. So got my sugars in there with the butter, and we're just gonna cream that. Start on low and let it all come together, and you're gonna wanna cream it until it's light and fluffy. All right, I got that all creamed, and I'm going to scrape it down off of the paddle. But look at this. I got this at Christmas. Isn't that the cutest thing? It looks like my little Frenchie Jade. Anyways, I'm just gonna clean this off the paddle. That's another one of my small pet peeves about KitchenAid. This is not a KitchenAid I hate video. This is just, you know, things I would change in the future. I think if I was going to get another mixer, I think I would probably invest in a Bosch. If you haven't looked those up and you make a lot of bread, go check them out. They get pretty good reviews, so I think that would be my next one. But hopefully this KitchenAid lasts me a long time. Okay, so the next thing I have is 2 large eggs. And yes, they are store-bought eggs because my girls are freeloaders right now, as are most of yours probably. But the hours of daylight are getting longer, and so I imagine they will probably start laying soon. Okay, I have 3/4 of a cup of sourdough discard, and that's going in here. Now I'll show you what I do with my sourdough discard after I'm done with this, but literally the whole reason why I am making these cookies right now is to benefit my sourdough. The next thing that's going in, get this off here. All right, no sourdough to be wasted. The next thing that is going in is vanilla. And we have a saying around here, I know recipes ask you to measure vanilla. We don't do that here. We measure vanilla with our heart. And so it says 2 teaspoons of vanilla in the recipe, and I'm just gonna, you know, give or take, because what's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna have too much vanilla. I mean, unless it's a recipe that is very particular about your moisture concentration, and then yes, I'm going to be more cognizant of actually measuring it. But if it's like cookies or cake or something like that, I'm just pouring until I'm happy. So now we're gonna get that going. I'm a lazy baker, guys, and I will tell you what, nobody's ever complained about it, so it's fine. Speaking of being a lazy baker, the next step is me being a lazy baker. One that doesn't want to have to wash more dishes than necessary, okay? Because I wash dishes all day long. I tore out my dishwasher. I didn't want it. I hated it. I had to wash dishes before they went in anyway, so I felt like, what's the point? I made room for my dehydrator and my cookbooks down there where the dishwasher used to be, and I feel like it's a much better use of the space. Long story short, I suppose. A lot of recipes will tell you to mix and sift together your dry ingredients in a separate bowl and then gradually add them. I don't do that. We don't do that here. Again, unless it's a very particular recipe that is delicate and fragile and needs a lot of structure to be made properly, I don't do that. Whenever this is blended good, I'm gonna pop it down on low and we're gonna start adding the other additions. It looks pretty good. Okay, so I gotta get my teaspoon out. I keep all my measuring things in a Ziploc bag. That way it's easy for me to just pull them out. It's a nice little hack for you. We need a teaspoon of baking soda. And I need to get back up to the Amish because that's where I was usually getting all my baking soda and baking powders. You'll see my baking powder is in a baggie. That looks kind of funny. But anyways, it is baking powder, I promise. See? And I get it from the Amish, and yeah, I prefer doing it that way. This takes, let's see, half a teaspoon. I gotta dig through here and find my half teaspoon. Or I could just do what I normally do and only fill up half of the whole, but this is my half. Okay. Half a teaspoon. There we go. All right, put that aside. Salt. So we're at the salt, and remember I said because I was using salted butter and the recipe called for unsalted butter, I'm going to do less salt than the recipe calls for, so I'm just going to do half a teaspoon. I think that should be very sufficient. And then the last thing is your addition of flour, and it's 3 cups of flour. So I'm going to do that, and at risk of making everything in this kitchen an absolute disaster, I'm going to stop it and drop it in between each addition. Because that way I don't shower myself with flour. It happens more often than I'd like to admit. Start on low, because I don't have, you know, some of you have the guard for your KitchenAid. I don't have that. I could get one, but I just haven't. Okay. 1 cup. And I don't like to really over mix it as well, so you just have to just barely get it incorporated. I know somebody at home is cringing right now because I'm not doing this with a knife. My Grammy would be cringing. It works for me. Whatever works for you, just do it. There's no right or wrong way. I always think, you know, a lot of times people are very precise. And I used to bake like that, but through the years, as I'm trying to do more things at one time, I just want to get it done. And so for me, this is what it looks like. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think we need to actually, more of us need to show this side of baking because it makes it more obtainable for the average person. You're not like, oh, I'm going to mess it up because I didn't like tap it and sift it and measure it with a knife and do all the things. It's okay. You're good. And again, unless you're making, oh, I don't know. Meringue can be something that's a little bit temperamental. So unless you're making a pavlova or something like that, it's okay. Some amount of error is just fine. It's all right. It's not going to hurt anything. I promise. All right. I think we're so used to seeing people show this like beautiful Instagram and TikTok videos. I have to pay a chocolate chip tax to the videographer over here. Anyways, you know, so many people see that and they think that it has to be perfect and everything. It doesn't. That's silly. Also, it calls for 2 cups of chips. I'm putting in a bag. Is that 2 cups? And let's see. It's 12 ounces, so it's short of 16 cups. But that's okay. This is what I have. We're not making it extra difficult. Now, it's all mixed in, but what I do want to do is go ahead and scrape it down just so we make sure everything off the bottom of the bowl is mixed up. Because you know, if you have one of these guys that it always gets stuck on the bottom. So I just kind of scrape off the paddle a little bit and I scrape down the sides, making sure that we really get that bottom, because we'll have like butter or something down there stuck. Actually, this one did quite well, so I'm not mad at it. Actually, I don't think I have to even put it back in the mixer. I think we're just going to take it over here. I don't like to overbeat things. So what we're going to do now is, she in her recipe calls for using 3 tablespoons and making a ball out of that. Would you like this? Okay. Also, nobody come for me in the comment section below. Around here, we eat raw cookie dough with eggs. We haven't died yet. It's fine. Really. And especially if you buy the store-bought eggs, they're pasteurized, which they don't even... Come to find out, in France, eggs are sold unrefrigerated, sitting on the shelves at your grocery store, not pasteurized, nothing, just sitting there. I think that's wonderful. I think here in the United States, we are so, oh, germs, ooh, ick, to a fault, truly. So yeah, we eat cookie dough with raw eggs. It's fine. We've survived. Here is it. Here it is. I don't know if this is 1.5 tablespoons. So this is smaller than what she makes, which is fine because that means it's going to make me more cookies than what the recipe calls for. But knowing that this is half the size of the cookies that she wants. So one of 2 things, either I could do 2 scoops in one ball, or I could do 1 scoop and cut the baking time down a wee bit. So I don't know, you want bigger cookies and fewer, or smaller cookies and more? More, okay. So basically, I'm just gonna come in here, grab you up some, stick it in here. She says roll it into a ball and put it on a parchment lined cookie sheet, 2 inches apart. I'm gonna get off here, I'm gonna do all of that, and then I will check back with you. So I got all the cookies onto the cookie trays. Now I'm going to put them in the oven. Her recipe calls for refrigerating for 2 hours up to 2 days. There's a couple reasons why you would want to do that. The first reason is sometimes your cookie doughs can kind of spread if they haven't been refrigerated beforehand. So you want to be cautious of that. The other reason is this is sourdough. So the longer you leave it sit, it is actually going to ferment. So it'll actually be better for your stomach if you do that. So those are a couple reasons why you would want to let these refrigerate for a couple hours. I got things to do. I have an article to write. I have some other stuff that I have to get done paperwork wise. And I'm gonna be making this hard cider, so you've already guessed it. I'm not doing that. I'm a rebel baker. I don't know what you want me to say. So the recipe calls for baking those 3 tablespoon cookies for 10 to 12 minutes. I have 1.5 tablespoons. Oh my goodness, I can't talk. So I'm gonna start with 8 minutes and I'm gonna check on them then. And when I pull them out of the oven, I'll show you guys what I've got. In the meantime, while those are in the oven, I'm gonna feed my sourdough starter. So this is Georgia 2.0. She's my newest sourdough starter. The last one I had for like 4 years, and then I killed her. So we all should have a moment of silence for the original Georgia. Anyways, this is Georgia 2.0, and I wanted to make bread later. So, you know, you want to feed it about 4 to 6 hours to get your maximum rise out of it. So right now there's no bubbles, but I'm gonna go ahead and feed it, and that's why I needed to use the discard. So what I do with my starter is 1 cup of flour, put that in there, and a cup of water. No, not a cup of water. Sorry, 2/3 of a cup of water. Giving you the wrong directions here. See if this will sink. And then really you're just gonna kind of go along the edges and just scrape everything down and kind of mix it in as good as possible. It smells like bread. It's so good. And then, like I said, in 4 to 6 hours, usually right around that 4-hour mark in my house, because we keep it like 73 degrees in here. So it's going to have a nice warm environment to thrive. If your house is a little bit cooler, you could choose to, you know, wrap it with a towel to try to keep some of that warmth in, or, you know, it might just take you a little bit longer, but
I got it.
The dogs are outside barking. So Harley's gonna go get it. But it's okay if it's a little lumpy, a little bumpy. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to take care of itself. Remember, your sourdough is a live culture. Oops. Did I ever say I was a messy baker? Because I am. It's usually because I'm in that much of a hurry. There we go. All right. So now Georgia's ready to go. Just gonna put this back on, and all this is a little bit of parchment paper and a ring. So that's what we're doing. There's a lot going on out there. I'm gonna put this cookbook away. I'm gonna check on those cookies, and when they are done, I will be right back with you. All right, the cookies are out of the oven. They look absolutely gorgeous, and I have 2 taste testers because Mama's on carnivore right now, trying to lose those holiday pounds. So Chase and Harley are gonna taste test and see how they are.
Yep.
Now compare that to my other chocolate chip cookie recipe that I usually make. Which one's better?
This one.
This one's better. All right, there you have it. These ones are better. Enjoy, guys. All right, on to the hard apple cider. And so this is the apple cider that my uncle made earlier in the year. He got the apples from a local guy that he's friends with, and they're organically grown. And so he has a cider press, and he went ahead and put them through the cider press, and then he froze it. So I just pulled these out and defrosted them naturally. And I'm shaking them up for 2 reasons. Number 1, you want the air in your brew at the beginning. That will help the yeast and just help the whole thing get going. So that's really good. The second reason is because you see all this goop here at the bottom? You want that in your brew. That's stuff that the yeast will enjoy digesting and give you an extra good flavor. And Harley, do you think you could get me my little silver funnel that's under there? It's You know which one I'm talking about. But you got to get the part that attaches to the bottom of the silver funnel that goes in this little hole. I forgot to get it. Yep, that's the one. Put it in the sink real fast so I can wash it up. Okay. And then this big guy. See all the stuff at the bottom? So you just want to give it a shake because you don't want any of that left behind, all that good stuff. So I'm going to make 2 gallons of this, and there's different ways that you can finish this once it's done, and we'll go over that in more detail when it's done because I'll cover it in the kitchen video. I don't know whether it'll be next week or the following week, but you can do hard cider and not carbonate it, let it go dry and drink it just like that, and it should be around 7-8% ABV, and that's fine. Or you can back sweeten it, or you can carbonate it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. Again, I'm getting all my information from City Stead and Brews. They're here on YouTube. They're amazing. I just love watching that channel. It's one of my favorites. So if you're interested in brewing, I highly recommend you check them out. I got this stuff all shaken up, and I'm just gonna real quick wash this off in my, sterilize it basically. You wanna make sure everything's sterile before you start. A lot of people use Star San or baby washing stuff. Another good way you can sterilize your glass, and I do this when I'm canning, is I use, I just put it in the oven. All right, I'm back. So we have the funnel here, and we have all of our cider ready to go. So let's fill it up. Now, I want to only fill it up to about here, maybe a little higher, but not very far up. I don't want a whole lot of headspace, but at the same time, I want to give it room in case it gets really excited. And remember, air is good at this point in the brewing process. So, my funnel has a leak. Guys, I got this funnel with such high hopes, and it has failed my hopes. It leaks. I'm gonna have to get another one. I do like a good stainless steel funnel though. Moving right along. Make sure we get all that good goop in there. All right. That's one. And I know Chase is hoping that I don't use this all because he would like to drink some of it. He loves apple cider. Now, if you want to make hard cider and you don't have fresh pressed apple cider, you could just go to the store and buy yourself some apple juice. That will work. But you want to make sure that there's no preservatives, there's not like citric acid in it. You just kind of want to make sure that it's just apple juice, which is kind of difficult to find, and it's completely crazy. That's why it's sometimes nice to just find somebody that makes it. That way you know. All right. I don't want to really go any further than that in that one because, again, I'm afraid it'll get super happy with the yeast addition. Look at that, there's just a little bit left there for Chase. Let's move this over to the next one and fill it up. So I've never made hard cider before, so this is going to be new for me too. I do make wine, I do make mead, but this will be a first for me as far as making a cider. I did not realize how stupid simple it is. It is so easy to do. It literally is 2 ingredients. Because you are aiming for a low ABV and this is not a wine, you're not adding sugar to it. But apples do vary in their sugar content naturally. So before we add our yeast, we're gonna check our specific gravity and make sure of what it is, and we're gonna write it down. So something else that you're gonna need in order to do this is a hydrometer, specifically for like beers and wines, and some sort of a test tube to put the liquid in. getting there. Now, this apple cider was frozen. So even though it was from fresh apples at the time, it was frozen. So any of the, should we say, like maybe bacterias or whatever might be on a fresh organic apple, we won't have to worry about because it was frozen. And when you freeze things, it's just as good, if not better, than pasteurization. All right, Harley and Chase are both gonna get a little bit. That looks about equal. I'll be happy about that. Okay, so let's get rid of this. And let's check our specific gravity. I made a mess, it's okay. That's what dish rags are for. Okay, oh, I need my test tube, or my squeezy thingy. Okay, I'm back. Got my turkey baster, and we're just gonna take a little bit out, and we're gonna put it right in here. I know, it's kind of like watching paint dry, right? That should be more than enough. Maybe a little more. Let's try that. Take the old hydrometer. All right, let's see where we're at. We're definitely in beer level, so that's good because that's what you want your hard cider to be. We are looking around 1.044. 1.044. So let me do some quick math, and for that I'm gonna have to come get my phone, so just hang on 1 second. Okay, so I did the math, and at 1.044 specific gravity right now, it should finish out roughly around 6.5%. And if I look here on my hydrometer, it will also tell me, if I turn it around, approximately where we'll be. And this goes by fives, maybe? 5, 10, no. So it should be, yeah, right around 6.5%. This one doesn't have the numbers quite right, but yeah, that's where you want it to be. And we're just gonna set that aside. And because everything was sanitized, I can go ahead and put my sample back in. And there's only one thing left to do. This is how easy this is. Okay, the last thing we have to do is add our yeast. Now, there's a lot of debates over what kind of yeast to use. And of course, when I'm making my wines and my meads, I like a certain kind of yeast that is gonna allow me a higher ABV at the end. And different yeasts for brewing, they really just like maybe bring out different types of notes in your brew, but really there's no right or wrong. You just kind of want to pair the yeast description by the manufacturer with what your end goal is. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with using a good old-fashioned bread yeast, and that's what I'm going to use. And bread yeast isn't going to give you one flavor or another necessarily, but it is still going to create alcohol, and that's what you want. And bread yeast will also have like probably a maximum ABV when it's finished of maybe 12 or 13%. This is going to finish, it's going to go dry at 6.5, so we really don't have to worry about it even getting that far. So the recipe that they gave called for a teaspoon. I know I'm gonna make a mess. Wish me luck. No, this isn't gonna work. I know ahead of time it's not gonna work. Well, we're gonna make it work. Oh, it's not so bad. I didn't make as big of a mess as I thought I would. Get in there, yeasts. Some of them didn't make it down, but that's quite all right. There. Good enough. They're in there. Now, you're set. You're on your way to making your own hard cider. Now, like I said, when we finish this up, if you don't want to add carbonation, you don't want to add sweetness, when this is done, it's done. You just bottle it up, put it on the shelf, put it in the fridge, drink it when you want. We will finish it off whichever way we decide when we finish. And since it's a lower ABV, it might finish in a week, it might finish in 2 weeks, I don't know. But in the meantime, we're gonna stick airlocks in these bad boys. And this is a 1-piece S-shaped airlock, and this is a 2-piece. I like them both. We're just gonna put them on there. These airlocks are filled with vodka. You can fill it with your sanitizer liquid if you want, or use like whatever crappy alcohol you have laying around. I have vodka for things like this and tinctures and whatnot, so that's what I chose to use. What you don't want to do is put, soap or something in here that if it does get into your brew, it could throw it off. So you don't want to do that. But otherwise, I'm going to put these in probably like a casserole dish, and that's it. They're going to sit and they'll start bubbling later, and I'll take pictures and I make sure I'll put those on my Instagram and my Facebook. That way you guys can see what the active fermentation looks like. It should start, I don't know, in an hour or so. Sometimes my stuff starts even sooner because it is warmer in here. Because I just had the oven on, I'm looking at the thermostat, it's 74 in here. So these are gonna go sit, and then that's that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. It's just a little bit of what I do in the kitchen each day. Of course, different times of the year, I'm doing different things. So right now, in the throes of winter, there's nothing I enjoy more than baking, and this is a great time to get any of your alcohols going. And I do strongly suggest that you look into making your own wines and meads and hard ciders and beers and things like that. As we move forward, and we have this new administration coming in, and there's more things coming to light. And in the past, we've known that they spray a lot of the fruit crops. They do a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily want to eat. And with those items, they're making your alcoholic beverages with. So, of course, that's going to end up in the end product. So, by making your own, you're eliminating the risk of having, wine out of grapes that were sprayed heavily with pesticides and herbicides. So it's just something to think about. And honestly, once you get into it, it is such a fun hobby. And it's so much fun to have people over for get-togethers, holidays, and say, here, try this, I made it. And most of the times people will be so super impressed. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed having you in my kitchen. We will do this every single Wednesday. Like I said in the last video, if you haven't caught it, if you didn't catch Monday's video, Mondays are going to be homestead videos, Wednesdays are going to be kitchen videos, and Fridays are going to be weekly wrap up. They're going to be, current events, things that are happening in the world with politics and wildfires and whatever else is going on. We will talk about that then. And in the meantime, if you enjoy these videos and want to share with your friends, please share. I really appreciate that. Also, make sure you comment. I love having the comments. Not only do I like interacting with you guys, but it does really help the algorithm. So I appreciate that as well. And make sure that you're still subscribed. If you were subscribed before, make sure you double check, because YouTube was really good at unsubscribing people for a long time. And if you're not subscribed and you enjoy this video, maybe think about hitting the subscribe button. Anyways, I'm gonna be off here. I got a lot of other things to do today. I just wanted to share these things with you. So I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.